Good morning from North America. I am pleased to start off this session on improving the quality of forest education at the tertiary level. We'll proceed. We've got 10 minutes, so I better watch my time here and be careful in that regard. So I'm gonna, the charge that was given to me by the organizers was to summarize the challenges in improving the quality of global forest education at the tertiary level as identified in the report on global forest education. So the key word here is challenges. And just so that you know what information I drew, sources I drew from for this presentation, I drew from the Global Forest Education Technical Advisory Committee. I'm a member of that, co-representing North America, i.e. as defined as Canada and US. I was a co-author of the North American Regional Assessment Report, one of the 6 reports. I also was a reviewer of the draft on the Global Forest Education Assessment Report, which is a synthesis across all areas, and also has reviewed the draft of the presentation on global forest education that was given earlier in this session. And then finally, looking at the executive summaries of all regional reports. So that's the background for my remarks. So what can we remove, let's see here, I've got a one here, I'm okay now. What I did was to organize this into a series of challenges. I've got 8 challenges, and think of these challenges as problems or issues that were identified in the surveys, in the literature, and the regional consultations. So these are, in some sense, are given as challenges, and then, given as challenges. And so the issue is, how do we deal with those challenges? So the first challenge is to enhance the relationship among educational levels. There's clearly a recognized need to increase agreement on the contributions of various levels of education and cooperation among them. It's really a pipeline issue that we're dealing with here that requires a systems approach. And up till now, really, it's been pretty fragmented among these levels that are listed here: primary, secondary, vocational and technical, undergraduate, graduate, and continuing education. So higher education, tertiary education is a part of this pipeline, and it's fed obviously from youth, and it feeds into the workplace. And there are feedbacks among these, and I'll talk a little bit more about this. And it speaks to the issue of workforce readiness. Challenge number 2, to develop a clearer understanding of the roles of various disciplines and professions involved in forest education. Really important as well. Also, for example, and I list some of the ones here that are common. And you see forestry, wildlife management, wood science and products, watershed science and management, recreation resource management. These are all tend to be resource specific more so. Forestry is often perceived as with a focus on wood resources. But then at the bottom are the programs that are more recent and are broader in scope. Some people would say more interdisciplinary, that is natural resource and conservation management and environmental science and management. And so a clear understanding of the roles of each of these. Challenge number 3, to develop a clear understanding of the discipline and profession of forestry. And here I'm purposely using the word forestry and not forest per se, the broader scope of forest education. We're talking about forestry now. What is it and what is it not? What's its unique role? And I would argue that, that there are special challenges in regions and countries with a diversity of biomes and ecosystems in addition to forests. For example, in North America, we range everywhere from deserts through grasslands and shrublands to forests and various types of forests. So that when you get a mix of those ecosystems, biomes, then the role of forestry perhaps is less clear because of these other ecosystems that are being considered. Challenge number 4, to decrease the negative image of forestry as a discipline and profession. This will require rebranding, awareness rising. Some people have talked about, I quote here, champions of forest education. And this indeed has impacts on enrollments, including diversity. This negative image, we know from surveys and from numbers, from data, that in fact forestry enrollments have decreased relative to especially the broader interdisciplinary programs. So for example, North America, forestry enrollment at the undergraduate level now is only about 15% of total enrollment in all of the natural resource areas, those other disciplines, associated disciplines that I talked about. And the diversity in terms of gender and race ethnicity, in terms of minorities, ethnic racial minorities, is higher in these interdisciplinary programs than the lowest actually in North America in forestry per se. So it has a big impact on enrollments. Challenge number 5, to increase the linkages, excuse me, collaboration partnerships between tertiary education institutions, the forest sector, both private and public, and the general public. There's a lot of feedback on the surveys and in our regional collaborations over the fact of educational institutions operating in isolation, not connecting to these other entities, to the forest sector and to the general public as strongly as they should. And the reasons for doing so have to do with the influence on workforce readiness, on employment opportunities, and public image. It provides strengthened linkages. These other entities will provide strengthened linkages to experiential learning and real world problem solving that so many people talk about. Student internships and summer employment certainly can be seen as bridging factors between academic institutions and these other entities. And then finally, the observation that all of these collaborators can provide education in some form as a part of, quote unquote, a knowledge creation society that we are in, for sure.
You have to mean, Mr.
Challenge number 6, pardon? Challenge number 6 is to improve demographic diversity in the tertiary population and profession / workforce. This is a pipeline issue with feedback influenced by equity and inclusion. This is primary to continuing through workplace education. There are feedbacks that operate here based on how we treat people in either in the academic institutions or in the workforce that influences the decision of younger people to enroll in tertiary education in forestry and other related areas. And it's really extremely important. And it starts with the recognition that there is a problem and exploring the roots of the problem, identifying the groups that are underrepresented and or underserved, and including more beyond gender, race, ethnicity. There are a lot, and we saw this among differences among region in terms of underrepresented and underserved groups, in addition to gender and race ethnicity. And then finally, developing strategies for rectifying the situation and measuring the effectiveness of the implementation of those strategies, of which there's far too little that has been done in the area. Challenge number 7, to find balance in the curriculum. And so we face this all constantly and ongoingly in higher education, that if you add something, you have to take something away. And so in most cases, it's a matter of balance between those areas that are currently elements that are currently in place and those that are emerging. And so think of this in that regard. It's usually not an and or in many cases, but it's a matter of balance. So I'm just going to, we could spend an hour talking about these and unpacking these. We don't have time to do that, but just think about these in terms of balance. And I'll start in the way this is, I've constructed this is that the element that is first mentioned, like discipline specific, is something that most people would argue that we're doing sufficient amounts of. But then the second element, or the element on the far right, where there are multiple elements, are areas that we need to emphasize more. And again, this comes out of the survey results and the regional consultations and the literature review. So discipline specific and non-discipline specific, or generic knowledge and skills. And excellent examples of the latter. The generic skills include problem solving, critical thinking, communication skills. Disciplinary, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and transdisciplinary, that evolution, that gradient. Basic and applied science, ecosystem services, provisioning, regulating, cultural, and supporting. And traditionally, we've really emphasized the provisioning services over the others. Ecological/environmental, economic and social dimensions of sustainable forest management. Again, the need for more emphasis on economic and social. Traditional and emerging issues, climate change as examples of the latter, climate change, human health and well-being, urbanization, indigenous perspectives, etc. Local, regional, and global issues, biomes, ecosystems. Teaching-centered and learning-centered methods, in-person and online/distance learning, the Internet of Things that people talk about, classroom and field lab hands-on.
Laboratoire, apprentissage direct, el trabajo práctico sobre el terreno o en laboratorio, también el aprendizaje.
i.e. teamwork. Western science, quote, and traditional/indigenous ways of knowing, doing, and being. And with the latter having with a strong emphasis on integration, intergenerational observation, and spirituality.
Terry, you have a minute.
Okay, and finally, formal and informal. And I really bolded the informal because it's exploding. Ways of informally becoming educated outside of the formal educational realm. Undergraduate and graduate, tertiary and continuing/workplace education. And then finally, the challenge to strengthen digital readiness, digital tools and learning technologies in what is a knowledge creation society. And so thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sharik, for your very insightful summary of the challenges. Now we're working on our second speaker, Mr. Ernesto Guerra. Terry, could you unshare the screen?
Yes.
In the meantime, I would like to encourage participants to write your comments in the chat. We will be taking care of them during this session. Mr. Ernesto Herrera Guerra. He has been the General Director of Reforestamos Mexico since 2000. He has a degree in Industrial Engineering from the Universidad Iberoamericana and a Master in Environmental Management at the University of Waikato, New Zealand. He also has a diploma in fundraising from Indiana University. After chairing the Mexican Committee of the International Union for the Conservation of Nature for 4 years, he was elected to preside over the Regional Committee of Mesoamerica of the same union in May 2019. Mr. Herrera participates in the steering committee of the Aspen Network for Development Entrepreneurs for Mexico and Central America chapter. Mr. Herrera was invited by the Arbor Day Foundation to serve on its board of trustees. He also collaborates on the board of directors of Causa Natura and the Digital Mexico Center. He is interested in the development of Latin American multi-sectoral alliances to guarantee transparent, legal, responsible, and sustainable landscape and seascape management. You're very welcome, Ernesto.
¿Me pueden escuchar? Can you hear me?
Sí, te escucho.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and thank you. Greetings from Mexico. So we are still in North America. Thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this dialogue, Sandra. So I'm Ernesto Herrera. As Sandra mentioned, I work in Reforestamos. I don't have a background in forestry, so what I study is industrial engineering, and I have a master's degree in environment and management. But I have had the chance to work for the government, the private sector, and the civil society. And after working in Reforestamos for 19 years, I have learned many things about forests. And it is clear to me that there's still too much to learn. So therefore, with great humility, I share my point of view, and I hope it will be helpful to improve tertiary forestry education. Next slide, please. So Reforestamos, the organization that I lead, has the mission of securing more and better forests to provide us with natural solutions to the global challenges we face, considering the broad spectrum of the Sustainable Development Goals. Next slide, please. Our objectives are to stop deforestation, increase sustainable forest management, restore degraded lands, and increase urban tree canopy. Next slide, please. Our lines of action are based on the following illustration. So we need accessible and transparent information to facilitate multi-sectorial participation and to positively influence public and private decisions around forest. So information and participation are key to strengthening forest governance in the different territories where we work, and thereby ensure forest certainty. With greater forest certainty, it is possible to promote responsible and sustainable forest ventures and attract different investment, public, private, philanthropic, and community-based investments in generate local livelihoods compatible with the permanence of the quality of forests. So, and in a transversal way, it is important to sensitize and empower people so that through their small or large actions, they can contribute to ensuring the forests of the future. So next slide, please. So in this sense, we are interested in foresters being able to generate valuable information, working together with other players to ensure that smart and strategic decisions that affect forests take place. We want the foresters to become familiar with the different governance models so that they can understand the needs and positions of the different players that affect the landscape, so that they can reconcile different points of view and thus increase the certainty of the foresters of the future, the forests of the future. So we want the foresters also to have an open mind to identify entrepreneurship opportunities to generate forest goods and forest services, environmental services, to satisfy the different sort of needs by the creation of local livelihoods connected with different value chains from the private sector. We want the foresters also to be able to communicate and to inspire the various players from other sectors and how the forest sector is essential for their sustainability. Next slide, please. However, there are some challenges for forests that we perceive. So the first one, the vision challenges. Some years ago, we asked forestry students in Mexico in a very casual way what their vision of work was. We wanted to know what they were expecting to do after finishing their tertiary education studies. And we were struck by the fact that most of them envision working for the government. a government that currently suffers large budget cuts and with few opportunities to employ foresters. So we are seeing a forestry sector very close on itself, and with a limited capacity or interested of many forestry teachers to dialogue with other disciplines, and therefore with a limited capacity to make forestry students aware of the different way of life they could choose. So the more options for the future they can envision, the greater the freedom of movement for forestry students will have. Next slide, please. And another challenge is the adaptation challenge. So the speed of change in the forestry curricula does not keep the pace with the rate of change that society is currently facing. Therefore, tertiary education institutions and teachers must recognize their limitations and be open to promote informal education spaces, as Terry mentioned, with the purpose of enriching the minds and capacities of students. Next slide. Information challenges. So we have experienced a great technological revolution that allows massive data processing to generate valuable information and thereby improve landscape decision making. So we cannot expect foresters to become information system engineers. However, I consider it important that they become curious enough to question the variables that they normally measure in terms of forest management, and that they can incorporate new variables that allow them to address forest complexity, working hand in hand with other disciplines in order to increase the understanding of the importance of forests for life, the importance of forests for well-being, and the importance of forests for multiple objectives related to the Sustainable Development Goals. Next slide. We have also faced some ideological challenges. So many ideologies are widely spread in tertiary education institutions, and many times are promoted, those ideologies are promoted by the teacher themselves. Young people run the risk of developing beliefs that may limit their ability to connect and to dialogue and to collaborate in order to develop innovative solutions. For this reason, it would be relevant for tertiary education institutions to promote the understanding of multiple ideologies, socialist, capitalist, environmentalist, religious ideologies, so that forestry students understand the strength and weakness in a neutral and unbiased way. So because an ideological bias could lead to foresters promoting wrong public policies that do not solve the forestry problem in an integral way. It will also be more difficult for them to deal with a conflict in a particular territory if they try to solve it with an ideological bias. So we want to give certainty to forest trust between the different players in a landscape. It is crucial, and therefore it is important that foresters learn to dialogue, negotiate, and collaborate with various types of players in order to build consensus in a constructive and purposeful, in a positive way. Next challenge, next slide, please. Entrepreneurship challenges. So entrepreneurship is one of the paths that we consider necessary to be promoted more in students studying forestry careers. That is why we promoted the Latin American Young Forest Entrepreneur Contest for 7 years.
You have 2 minutes, Ernesto.
Taking into account that the availability of public and philanthropic resources is declining for foresters, taking into account that the people who live in the forest take care of the forest, it is necessary that students in forestry careers know various business models, various models of associativity or new financial models that will allow the competitive production of both forest goods and environmental services that are demanded by people in the cities. So it is important that forestry students can visualize how different companies and entrepreneurs can coexist in the same territory in a symbiotic way in order to maximize forest competitiveness for the benefit of inhabitants. So next slide. So I'm just about to finish. So we need also foresters have been able just to communicate better. So communicate forests and being able to inspire other people. So we need to be connecting forest with society is something that also Terry mentioned. Next slide and just the conclusion. So we need really well-informed foresters with ability to influence complex decision-making in the different landscape. Foresters that can generate multiple develop alliances with different sectors, and forests with an open mind, being able to undertake ventures or promote ventures in the places where they work, and people that are foresters being able to inspire. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ernesto. To enrich the session, we invited the speakers from different sectors. Of course, your contribution from the outside, the academia, is very valuable to us. And I hope the audience find the same. Thank you, Ernesto, very much. Our next speaker is Ms. Kirsi Itkonen. She is a senior lecturer of forestry at the Southeastern Finland University of Applied Science. She holds a master's degree in forestry from the University of Helsinki, forest economics, and a vocational teacher qualification from the Tampere University of Applied Science. She has more than 2 decades of experience of teaching, thesis supervision, international project management, research and development activities, and students' guidance in the field of forestry education. Her special fields of expertise include forest ecology, forest economics, entrepreneurship, environmental issues, and sustainability. She has a strong interest in international cooperation, especially with Russia, and educational development. Through the past decades, Ms. Itkonen has actively planned, managed, and participated in several international development projects with a strong connection to forestry sector, education, and environment. You're very welcome, Kirsi.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will share my screen. Is it now visible?
Yes.
Okay. And where I can put on my video. Maybe I stop sharing and I start my video first. And then I will share my screen.
Great.
Okay. Very warm welcome and greetings from Finland. So we have quite extraordinary weather today, more than 32 degrees Celsius plus. First, I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation to be a speaker in this international conference of forest education. Like Sandra already said, my name is Kirsi Itkonen, and my home university is Southeastern Finland University of Applied Sciences and XAMK. And XAMK is one of the 6 universities of applied sciences in Finland offering bachelor and master level forest education. And improving the quality of forest education at tertiary level, so it's extremely interesting, important, and urgent topic, like we have heard. Forests are important renewable resources, global resources, which can offer a solution to the increasing global problems like climate change. And therefore, we play a very important role while we are speaking about the forest education and the future professionals. Next, I would like to share my experiences about the topic. In this chart, I have addressed some of the main points which we could take into consideration while thinking about the improvement of the quality of forest education. Of course, the chart is not exhaustive, but it gives an overview of the issues I have found critical. And my approach to the topic is more practical than theoretical. And first of all, we have to make sure that the teachers are skilled and motivated. And of course, the curriculum development is a continuous process. And further, we need to guarantee that the objectives and the content of the studies are relevant and updated. And what comes to the pedagogy, so we need to utilize the up-to-date pedagogy, methodology, tools, platforms, digitalization, etc. And of course, international cooperation is needed in order to overcome the global challenges, what we have also heard today. And finally, the connection between education and working life is core issue. And next, I would like to take a closer look at one of the issues listed, and that is a connection between tertiary education and working life. And as you can see, the working life connection and cooperation is here in the middle. And in practice, working life connection contribute and could contribute to all the topics mentioned in the previous slide and also in this slide as well. And as educational organizations, we are responsible for educating future professionals for the continuously changing labor market. And the main principle is that the supply must meet the demand in quantity and in quality. And let us start with practical training. And I suppose no one can deny the importance of it during the studies. Long and demanding enough training and working in the forest sector organizations, it is very important for the development of professional identities of the students. And for example, in Finland, in the universities of applied sciences, the compulsory training is worth 30 ECTS credits. And so far, it has been rather easy to find a training and working place for the students because the forest sector organizations need extra hands, especially during the summertime. And next, from the pedagogical point of view, it is essential to think about the objectives and content of the study courses and learning and teaching materials. There, the input from the working life, it's extremely valuable and welcome from my point of view. And I would like to see the continuous discussion about content of the study courses and assignments, topics of the thesis, etc. For example, we can ask, are our assignments, exercises, and tests, what we are using, are they relevant, related to the working life needs, and demanding enough? And what about the learning materials and content of our courses? Do they increase and develop the competencies which the students will need in the future in order to be able to succeed in the job? And besides, the relevant and working life-based content and materials of the study courses, they motivate both the students and the teachers. And maybe it also insists the teachers to update their own skills and know-how. And by the curriculum development process, possibly in international cooperation, we guarantee that the forest education in its behalf seeks answers for the global problems and challenges, and we will utilize the opportunities. And moreover, working life-based topics of theses motivate students and turn the insight to real life problems and their solving. And in the best case, a well-done thesis can open a door to the job market.
You
And
have
then,
2 minutes, Kirsten.
thank you. And I'd like to give you an example, one kind of small example how to cooperate with working life. And during the last 2 years, we have been implementing a project ITTO together with Russian partners and University of Eastern Finland. And the project aims to help the students of forest education to become skilled professionals for the future. The professionals who possess the so-called 21st century skills and competencies, and who are able to succeed not only to the world of work, but also to be able to adjust themselves to the changes in the workplaces and environment. And our focus has been on the development of e-learning study materials in close connection of pedagogical experts and of course, working life representatives. Each teacher participating in the project has asked a working life tutor for him or herself. And with the tutors, the teachers have gone through firstly the aims of that precise study courses and secondly the materials and assignments. And this could be a one way to guarantee that the education meets the working life needs. And according to my experience, the representatives from the working life, they have been more than willing to cooperate and give their contribution. And at the end, I would like to address that there are a lot of opportunities in the cooperation with working life. And we all here today have enormous networks, both nationally and globally. And maybe now it's time to utilize those connections more for the improvement of quality of forest education. And this kind of close cooperation with the working life, it benefits everyone. It helps us develop education towards authentic goals, and it prepares students for the future and helps them to network already during their studies. And it ensures that the businesses will have a skilled workforce in the future. And this is the end of my speech, and I would like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. You are some of the few researchers in forest education. We are so glad to have you here, sharing your experience and your insights. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We welcome our next speaker, Ms. Kariyatu Brigitte Sharik. She is a research and teaching assistant at the Department of Forestry, School of Natural Resources Management in Najala University, Sierra Leone. She is a current master's student at Najala University, specializing in community and urban forestry development. She graduated with a bachelor's degree with honors in forestry, with also distinction in research and field work from the same university. She has participated in several leadership programs and engaged in projects, field surveys, research that have helped her to mobilize, organize, and also make involved in decision making. She is also a member of the Girls in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics Initiative Sierra Leone, and a member of the Northern African Regional Meeting. She received a sponsorship to attend two international conferences. She was on the local organizing committee of the School of Natural Resources Management, where she successfully hosted the very first ever IFSA conference in 2019 that was held in Sierra Leone. This event attracted participants from different universities in Sierra Leone, Ghana, and Nigeria. Welcome, Kariyatu. Carillato, are you in the room?
I'm not sure Khadijat is in the room.
Wow. Khalil, are you here?
Hello, Sandra. Lakshmi here. It seems
Yes.
Khadijato is not in the room, so if you can move on to the next speaker, maybe I can go find her.
Okay. So then we move to the question and
Lakshmi,
answer
I see you're
session.
in 1.1, Lakshmi, so maybe you can
Yeah.
reassign.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
trying,
Can we
yeah.
wait 1 minute? We can wait 1 minute.
Yeah.
Well, it seems that it's been a really nice discussion on the chat. We will later have the opportunity to ask questions to speakers, and then the same question will be asked to some people in the audience. So if you want to talk, you please raise your hand and we and open your microphone. But if you also wanted to write your comment, your response on the chat, we will be here reading your answer below. That will be later on. So is any news from Carillato? Lamich?
Hello, Sandra. Yes, we are trying. We got hold of her. Maybe she will be back in a minute.
Okay.
I think she is back. Maybe we can try once again.
Okay. Okay, in the meantime, we can read some of the comments. Agbor, growth. I want to agree with you, Kirsty. Objectives may be great, but delivery does not align due to challenges in pedagogy, limited resources, etc. This might create constructive misalignment.
So, Sandra, Khadijato is in
Yes.
the room now.
Okay, Carillato.
Hello.
I'm giving you the floor.
Okay.
You can start now. You have 7 minutes.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very sorry. I think I was in the other breakout room, like room 1, until you just sent me, Khalid just sent me a message. So, first through education for tertiary institutions, in Sierra Leone, to be precise, it's a bit kind of low because a lot of students are so scared of entering into the forestry profession, being that there are no much job facilities, and a lot of awareness has not been I ran for students that have been admitted into the university to come and study forestry. The opportunities are very low. They look at it as the opportunities are very low in choosing forestry as a course to study in the university. So it's kind of complicated, it's kind of confusing, because if you look at over 5,000 students that applies into the university, maybe if you come to the forestry department, you just have like 10, 12 students, including male and female, that are just offering forestry. That's a kind of bit low. It's really not encouraging, but I think the forestry sector needs to improve a bit by bringing out more opportunities in the forestry sector. Because basically our forestry in Sierra Leone has been depreciated. A lot of deforestation is going on, and most of the people that are occupying the high offices, especially in the forestry division, most of them from time immemorial studied agriculture, being that forestry just started like over 7 years ago as a course in the university. So most of the people that are heading the forestry division studied forestry. So even when graduates are out of the university and they go out, they want to work in the forestry sector, that is not being accorded to them, because they already have people on the ground that did agriculture, but are now working for the forestry division. So it's a kind of challenge for them that after studying, what do we have? Positions that we are supposed to kind of engage. People are already there, people are using these positions. So what do we do? Can we just go study agriculture? Can we just go study biology, chemistry? You know, and at the end of the day, we don't mind becoming a teacher, because even being a district forest officer, it's kind of hard because people are already in those places. Most of the forestry workers, the bosses that are all high up there, they bring out their own people, their own mentees that they have on board to work with them. So it's kind of challenging. So I feel like, and Sierra Leone in particular, the forestry sector needs to be it really needs to start from the primary stage, like from primary school, secondary school to tertiary education. I already started something, like I started something with secondary schools. I go out to secondary schools because it is after secondary school when you take your WAS, we call it, like the public exam we call WAS or WAEC. After your WAEC, you get your requirements and then you can go to university. So I started something on forestry education by going to secondary school, at least talking to some of these children or pupils that see there is a course that is called forestry, in which you people can apply for in the university. And when you apply in the university, you go do forestry, there are opportunities, there are job opportunities for you. And this is a course that is new in the country, yes, we know. But from start, we all have been hearing about climate change and everything concerning climate change. But how do we tackle it? That's because we don't even know right from the grassroots, from the beginning here, in secondary school, we don't even know the basics about climate change. We just see trees, but we don't know their importance. So you people can apply to the university and study forestry. There are opportunities for you. And when you talk of opportunities, they start thinking of monetary opportunities as well. So you kind of have to engage the entrepreneurship part of forestry into them right from the beginning there, and then tell them how to care about nature, about the basics and need for us to conserve our nature. Because if not, having students at the tertiary education, especially in my region in Sierra Leone, it's a kind of difficult, because a lot of them that choose it really frown at it, people frown at it, and they feel like there are no job opportunities, and after graduation, you're just left alone, you're just stuck And
You have a
all
minute,
the very
Carigat.
best.
You have a minute.
Okay, so I feel like forestry education, not only in Sierra Leone and in other regions, especially in Africa and West Africa to be specific, students need to be encouraged in order to really have them on board, because a lot of scholarship opportunities are out there, but only few that really know the essence of the scholarship opportunities and what forestry is all about can really have a feel of it, you know. So we really need to encourage students, especially at the tertiary level, like exposing them to scholarship opportunities as well. Because some of them come back from the secondary school, they are novice, they entirely don't know anything concerning internet. So I feel like there should be an educational sector, a curriculum telling them about the use of internet, and then telling them about the opportunities, especially the entrepreneurship part of the forestry sector. Forestry is not just about planting trees, but about if you plant your trees and then seedling production, nursery establishment, you'll be able to get monetary benefits on your own and not just sit down and looking at people thinking that just after studies, there is nothing else. If I don't get a job in the ministry or in other institutions, so there is nothing else for me. So I think we should try and engage our students in a better way for us to really improve on the educational sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Carigato. So very insightful comments about your region and what you have done there. And I guess we have a lot to discuss in terms of how to improve forest education at the tertiary level. We have several points here. Tomorrow we will be giving the brief of this session, and the session that is the same session is going to be held tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon round time. We will be giving the summary of what it has been discussed. For now, we're going to the question and answer sessions, and this question is directly to Ernesto, and please write also the answers in the chat, and we will be reading 2 answers or 3 according to the time, just to keep the time. Or if you want to give your answers by voice, you can raise your hand later after Ernesto. What will be the competences that a forestry professional of the future should have? That's for you, Ernesto. Ernesto, are you in the room? Hello? Hello? Ernesto?
He's in the room, Sandra. I just unmuted him. I'm not sure if I could.
Oh,
Okay, thank you. I just couldn't unmute myself. Thank you. I'm gonna be very lazy. I'm gonna answer in Spanish. So because I'm so happy that there's a translation, so I'll carry on in Spanish. Entonces, definitivamente estamos esperando que los forestales del futuro sean como superhéroes, ¿no? Estamos esperando demasiadas cosas de los jóvenes que estudian carreras forestales. Sin embargo, considero que es muy importante el que puedan, primero, tomando en cuenta la década de la restauración que estamos en este momento iniciando, y hay como muchos trillones de dólares que necesitan ser invertidos para estas acciones. Entonces, nos damos cuenta que no hay recursos filantrópicos suficientes para poder hacer
resources available to conduct all the reforesting operations that we need.
De las oportunidades de emprendimiento, cómo generar.
So we need to think about how we can identify those resources so that we can actually properly manage the forestries, that we can actually proceed with the reforestation operations that we need. That is a business that's got to be one that is profitable if it's going to draw the resources that it requires and that investors will be attracted to. So then we can actually replant trees. So it's very important then, that aspect for businessmen. And behind this, business approach, we need to focus on governance. If we're going to have businesses in forestry, well, you can't have that if there's doubt, if there's questions about governance. So forestries need to have allies in this, and they need to ensure that those involved in this effort are of goodwill, that everyone is working together, that everyone is making sure that international investment actually gets to where they're needed in the best possible way. So then this question of governance and this question of skills, then we've got to make sure that we do have useful information available for the participants. There I'm thinking about the fourth industrial revolution. That's the Forestry 4.0. It's going to require use of digital skills and forestries that can generate or create or make good use of tools and instruments. Those that can take advantage of new trends in technology are going to be in the forefront. But you'll do that via interconnectedness, via alliances. That's very important to build those alliances. So to sum up, you've got to produce useful information. You've got to have a capacity to take advantage of the fourth industrial technological revolution. You've got to see how you can have cross-cutting multi-sectorial alliances and partnerships, and you need good governance of that, good management, and then you've got to make sure that you can develop the tools that you will need. They're useful tools for society as a whole. And then you've got to look at the trillions of dollars that we have mentioned that will be necessary for reforesting efforts. Yes, thank you very much, Ernesto.
Sorry. I see your hand is raised. Do you want to participate? Do you want me to unmute you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Mine is just a comment on what has been discussed so far. First of all, I may like to talk on the perception of people. I'm going to say this comment based on my experience. My name is Bella Rafaiwali, a young faculty member in the Department of Forestry and Wildlife Management, Bayero University, Kano, Nigeria, and also a PhD student studying natural resource management and climate change in the same university. First of all, if I go around and I meet old friends, they may sometimes ask me where I work. I will tell them I work in the university. The next question that will follow is which department? I will say Department of Forestry and Wildlife Management. The response is that most of them, they will be mute for some minutes. First of all, some didn't even know about forestry or forestry department. I have to add by saying Faculty of Agriculture, and then they will respond positively. So this shows that there is need for awareness and advocacy of forest education and forestry as a profession as a whole. Secondly, and like Khadija to Elia mentioned, especially here in Nigeria, northern Nigeria in particular, forestry, like the field itself, the department or forest education in the tertiary education was like, it was established not more than 10 years ago. In fact, here in my department, we have only PhD, 2 PhD holders and what have you. So what I'm trying to say here, there is need to provide more opportunities for forestry professionals to be acquiring educational opportunities like scholarships and what have you, in order to have the capacity or the room to build themselves in order to provide quality education to the students. More so,
I'm sorry, Delia, I have to interrupt you because we need to keep with the time. Can you summarize really quick?
Okay. Finally, according to what Khadija made mention, last year in my department, we had only 1 student that applied to study forestry. While general agriculture, we have over 300 applicants. So in a nutshell, there is need for guidance and counseling, and maybe as the first speaker made mention, to have like forestry champions and what have you, in order to advocate and campaign on the importance of forestry education locally, regionally, internationally, and globally. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. We encourage participants to stick to the questions, please. Next question. Our next question goes directly to Kirsty. What Kirsty, are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm here.
Okay.
So what
please? Questions and why do we need to address in the future? Could you please give us an insight?
Yes, I think so that there has been a talking about this digitalization, and I think so that we have to master and utilize those tools in a way so that they don't master us. And then I think so that one. I don't know if it goes to this this part, but maybe the others. So that I think so that we need to collaborate and so that we are able to improve the image of forest education, so that we are able to get good students, and so that the forest education will be desirable among the youth. I think so that it's a one question what we need to do, and we need to compete towards it together, and internationally and globally. And then of course when we are talking about the quality of the forest education, so I think so that we need to take a look so and observe objectively. So what are the indicators with which we evaluate the quality of the education? And I think so that there are quite big differences between the countries and maybe between the continents also. But I think so that it is important.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. Please don't disencourage if we don't have time to grasp all your comments. However, please write them on the chat. We will be collecting them for our future research and projects. Please do so. Don't hesitate to do that. We will collect everything, all your comments in these sessions, in all the sessions, in all the Congress to be exact. Okay. Is anyone want to participate answering this question? I see Lupita Fabregas. She has their hand raised.
Yes, I just want to say something super quickly And it's about, if we want to educate people in any subject, we need to start early. When we start with kids in high school or above, that's too late. So you want to educate people, you need to create a culture of taking care of the forest and really learning the advantage of taking care of that. So my advice, start with education and start early. Don't wait.
Thank you, Lupita. Thank you very much. I don't see more hands. Please raise your hand if you want to participate. No? Okay, let's look at the chat then.
I think Khadijat hand is up.
Oh, Carillato, go ahead. You have 1 minute and we can give the Caliche another minute, please.
Yeah, this question was very interesting. Like I said, earlier on, I was in the next breakout room. They were saying something about seedling, planting seeds, like for primary and secondary school pupils, you know. It was really interesting. There was a lady that made a presentation from Tanzania, and she made a video of the strategies they put in place to encourage primary school pupils, you know, and in educating them about forestry, for them to have the desire about forestry. So I think the forestry curriculum, even for tertiary education, you know, we need to teach our students, okay, that are in the university, so that they also will be able to help out to pass on the message, to teach their younger brothers and sisters right in the primary school. So I think there should be a curriculum, a kind of training, like giving them excessive practicals, okay, about nature, so that they themselves will have love for nature, and they'll pass it on to their younger ones when they go home in their communities. And I think in the curriculum as well, I'm really kind of desirous about this entrepreneurship in forestry education in tertiary institutions. You know, I think entrepreneurship should be part of our curriculum, because if a student knows about what forestry can offer and the opportunities and job opportunities he or herself can do for herself, can engage in entrepreneurial-wise, to engage herself after graduation, I think it will be sustainable for us in Africa, and then have more students on board, because knowing that after graduation, I can still be able to do my own enterprise and then get some stuff out of what I studied. That's how agriculture is beating down the forestry sector, because students coming to agriculture always have a feel that after
your time is
if
over.
I don't get a job, I can go
I'm
make a farm on my own.
Okay.
Yes.
I
can go get a job on my own. So
we're going to give the opportunity to Caliche Eleani. I'm sorry for my pronunciation. I open the microphone to you.
Oh.
You can go ahead.
Speak now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the session. What I just wanted to add, having listened to Khadija and other people speak, I think that there has to be an intentional drive to ensure, one, that those who teach forestry in these institutions have a background, have the knowledge. You know, where you have people in crop science teaching forestry, they cannot have the basic delivery for what is needed. So that's one key thing in terms of policy that we have to move. And I think that networking with the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, you know, the Ministry of Culture and Tourism, to have a joint programming whereby all the benefits of forests can be made known at the very early stage, and let them participate, and also bringing in the media. Now we have to go to the media, because we can't just sit and wait. The media has to be part of the curriculum for forestry, because you have to share the forestry knowledge. So this is what I think that we need to contribute and make forestry more, if I use the word sexy, for people to kind of come into it. If not, we're just going to be proclaiming climate change and people are running away to agriculture, to law, to medicine, when forestry can provide for all these needs. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We are moving to our next session. I hand it over to Rebecca. Please, Rebecca.
Hi, everyone. So we're on the Jamboard activity session. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, good. So here I'm going to drop a link on the chat box. So please click on the link. I'm going to explain the Jamboard activities to you. So here, please, you can drop your recommendation on how you think we can improve forestry education at the tertiary level. So when you click on this link, it's going to bring you to a page whereby you see these continents: Europe, Africa, America, Asia, and Oceania. So please click on the one that is peculiar to your region. And after you've done this, I'm sorry, I want to make it easier. Okay, I can't find it yet, but just click on the sticky notes. It's on the left-hand side. You'll find it there. And please just drop your recommendation on how to improve forest education at the tertiary level. And you can as well drop, if you can't navigate through it because of our time, you can as well drop your recommendation on the chat box. But it will be appreciated if you can drop it on the Jamboard.
So how many minutes do we have to do this exercise, Rebecca?
We have just 5 minutes for this exercise.
Temitope, could you share the link once again to the Jamboard in the chat so people could access?
Yeah, I just did.
Did you?
Okay, but I'll do that again.
Yes, I see it's been shared
here. We are start counting the 5 minutes now.
We really don't have time to take much comment from everyone, but please, you can drop your recommendation on the Jamboard.
Then we will come back to summarize some of the recommendations.
Yes. Okay, I can see inclusiveness of technologies in forestry. Okay. Primary schools and high schools should have subjects on forestry, so they will have an idea on the importance of forestry profession. Thank you.
For those who hasn't been able to access Jamboard, I'm going to allow myself to read some of the comments so we can do a good use of our time. In Ireland, there is a shortage of forestry graduates. There is a lack of awareness of forestry as a career option. So the sector has come together to address this at secondary school. Good. Through exposure to foresters, sponsoring forester team science projects, and the production of up-to-date print material detailing what forestry is and how to access formal forestry education. Oh, that's very good. Okay, I can just go to another continent. From the chat, can you, Alex, drop that from the chat? Okay, I got another from the chat. I am Dr. D.O.X. who Emelo. I'm so sorry from my pronunciation. From Federal University of Agriculture in Nigeria. The way to improve forestry education is at the tertiary level, is to provide scholarships and training opportunities to forestry students. Okay, we have more comments from Africa. Incorporate socioeconomic studies instead of studying species all the time. Wow. We need to train students to think outside the box. This call for review of the curriculum development, contextualize learning materials, and retaining lecturers. Great. Going to read some from America. That was from Africa. Now I'm going to read some from America. Really quick. But you can still working on the Jamboard, so we will keep all this with us. America. Unify a basic curriculum, at least by country. Development of incubators to stimulate the development of university ventures. That's something that you, Karijatu was looking for. Promote international student exchange. Great opportunities for multi-sectoral collaboration for students through their studies. Elementary schools clubs in or after school. Great. Here, some in Spanish. To start with the small ones, with forest content. Thank you for your comments. From the chat, Alex, Juliet, can you help me with the chat, please? Okay, time is over for your comments in the Jamboard. We are coming back to the session. Just to summarize some other comments. I will give Asia the opportunity to participate. Is someone from Asia here who wants to share? Okay. No, I don't see any hand. Please raise your hand. Please, someone from Asia who wants to share your insights. Okay, I will read them. Promote forestry education to the public so that public is aware of different applied science and the multidisciplinary nature in forestry. Developing the network for internship. Develop a core curriculum. Oh, here, this is very interesting. We used to organize national level quiz competition in secondary school to raise awareness in forestry education. That's very good. Okay, we have 2 more minutes to summarize this session. So I want to thank all of you for your participation and contribution. We are very honored to have you here and to have this very fruitful discussion on the future of the forest education at the tertiary level. There is, of course, a lot of things to do, but there is also a lot of things that we can learn from each other. So as I mentioned before, we will keep all your comments and we will continue working on forest education. This is just the start. We have long way to go. I want to thank my team of organizers. Of course, I want to thank IUFRO, who hosts the Joint-IUFRO-IFSA task force on forest education. The organizers of the conference, the FAO and ITTO. So with this being said, I think our meeting could be adjourned. And thank you also again for being here. There is another session in this same platform, in this plenary room, but if you want to move to another session, you just need to go to the joint breakout room. Do click there and change to the session that you want to participate. Have a good one, everyone.